hopefully you guys can hear it. Let me know in the chat if you can't hear this video.
At 7EDU Impact Academy. Since 2014, we've been designing a solution for students around the globe seeking truly empowering academic guidance. The 7EDU Impact Academy one-stop personalized education solution using interactive technology to teach smart, not hard. Young age to preparing with the best for the most prestigious tests and national competitions. There's no limit to what you'll achieve with us at 7EDU Impact Academy. Dream big. Reach higher.
Okay.
7EDU.
And let's get on with tonight's event. So let's see. Okay, so before we get started, of course, I want to first quickly introduce our expert that we have here today, June. In addition to being a pioneer of K through 12 distance learning, June has been a college counselor to hundreds of students for over 10 years, helping them reach their potentials by getting into their dream schools. June's students have gone to all the big name colleges that you know about, Harvard, Stanford. She has it all, and she's also led the rest of our team here at 7EDU to do the same with other students. Now, June is passionate about learning each student's individual story, which is really what makes her stand out. And she helps them share it with admissions offices in a unique and successful way. And so now, without further ado, June, are you ready to get started with our questions for today?
Yes, sure.
Wonderful.
Hi, thank you, Anne.
Did you want to share slides?
Yes, I can share the slides.
Okay, let me stop my share.
We put the slides together. Hi, everyone. I'm June, and I like the video to introduce the philosophy of 7EDU, and I'm so excited to talk to you guys again regarding the ED. And I know like the ED just part of the result just came out, and I know some of the students are very happy because that means like all the rest of the days will be lay back and chill, right? Do whatever you want. But I also know many of the students kind of like got deferred, rejected, or different kind of situation. So here we go. That's why we're here. We want to invite all the students and the parents here to understand about the process of the application and also what's next. And also we are here to answer the question. All right, so we can start it, Anne.
Sure, yeah, let's get started. Do you want to click to the next? Okay, great, perfect. So the first question, June, that I've seen, of course, is just simply what is the difference between all these different types of early decision applications? Could you share a little bit more?
Yeah, and actually this is the question like many students keep asking every single year, actually. So a lot of them feel like, oh, if I know more, maybe I would change my mind, or I do have students change their major last minute. So this is something that I want everybody to understand regarding like no matter you apply ED or RED or EA. So the first question is about the difference. And I know many of you guys, if you already chose ED, EA, REA, right? So that means like you already understand about the difference. But again, I want to explain to people who don't really get the difference, or maybe some of the students just say like, oh, if I just chose EA or ED, does that gonna harm my application? If the answer is no, anyway, I'm gonna do it. Or many people just mysteriously believe saying like the ED, EA, you definitely gonna have a more chance. Is that true? So here is the definition. I think if you look online and search for EAED, there's like many different explanation. But it's something I want to make everybody understand. It's like even everybody knows like the accepted rate is like higher, and just because the application number is lower. I mean, the total amount of the candidates is less than a regular application. So that's why it costs some of the certain numbers like higher. This is one of the things you want to think about it. So the other thing is like when you apply for EDEA, so unless you are like a very outstanding and you sure like you just love that school so much you want to fully commit it to it, and then you can just choose it. But otherwise, you still want to give yourself like more options, more possibilities. So early decision, so give the students kind of like a better chance like of acceptance. That's most people think. But again, so I would say it's not always the case like that. Okay. So that's something you don't want to think like, oh, I probably cannot get into the school. So if I choose ED, I will get it, or I will increase my chance to get it. Well, even it's 2 times higher, but it still is like very, very low chance, because you have to think about why the school offer ED, why the school offer EA, right? Because they have to fill in their structure first, right? They need how many percentage of different kind of students, and then they fill the structure, make sure they already have everything balanced, and then the rest of students will fill in by numbers. You know what I say? So that's why understand about the intention of the school will help you to understand about ED and EA. And for many years, my students got into those top schools. I would say more than 80% of them are from is through like the regular application. It's not EA or ED. Okay, so think about ED, and we can talk about an EA. The early action actually is like more flexible. So early action actually give you like a more like not like really blunt binding, but that's like you have to choose it, but you still have to reject it. So what we talk about a EA, and that's like belongs to like the regular schools, not like UC. So UC is not related to in this discussion, right? So for EA, you have two options: a single choice early action or restrictive early action. So what is the difference between the SCEA or REA? So SCEA and REA, the special part is like is a limited bounding. So every different school, they give a different policy. So most likely is like after you get the offer, you still have the right to reject it and go to the regular decision school. So this is something that you give yourself a second chance. But of course, it belongs to the students who are more competitive. So you have the kind of like the resource or like a confidence to reject some of the things, right? Some of the schools. So here is one of the picture that I put out for students and the parents to understand. I think this picture can answer all the questions that Anna trying to ask me. And also we collected some of the questions from the parents regarding, what they should do and what's next. So if you got admitted to your dream school and through EA, ED, so now is a good chance for you to make a decision. Most of the students that I taking care of that, as long as they chose EDEA, and basically they just really like the school. So now is the chance for you to give up the rest of the schools, and then you just wait for your college life to start. But if you still want to get the second chance for your regular decision, I would say if you're applying for the EA, you still have the chance to reject the offer and to wait for the regular decision, which is a very rare chance people do that. So I would say, yeah, this is the congratulation. Just to wait for your college life to start it. And during the process, probably you want to just to wrap up everything in your high school, and you still want to keep the high GPA. At the same time, you probably want to think about, choose some online courses related to your major, and to try to, get yourself ready. Because I always tell my students, college is not the end of your high school. Actually is the starting of another round of the school. So just don't think everything gonna be like chilled, laid back. You don't want to throw your books away. You want to just basically prepare yourself even more ready than ever before. So if you got rejected, which is like very sad, I understand. Yesterday I got a cup of call to the students. So they most of them they got like rejected. Well, the thing is, because this year we are using more aggressive strategy for students to apply for colleges, because consider the COVID-19, and a lot of students, they don't have the chance to take the SAT, ACT. So most of them, they don't have the standardized score. But the good news is like we know since March we have been talking about, oh, SAT is optional, the standardized test is like no longer important. Those kind of rumor is ongoing, right? So many of my students actually I would say half of them they already had it, and half of them they just didn't have a chance to take it. So from the result that we got for now, and I found like the students who get into those dream schools, they all had a very competitive academic score and SAT score. Like what I mentioned before, many of those students, because they have to apply the summer camp of the previous summer. So actually they got their SAT score like the December, which is last December. So many of them, because they have to submit it to their summer camp. So they already get their score like in the first semester of the 11th grade. But some of them they didn't have the chance to do that, so that's caused like they don't really have the standardized score. And so far, the students who got rejected or who didn't get into the dream school, I would say 80% of them, because they don't really have the score. I mean, from my understanding, from my analysis, of course, that's not like what the school going to tell you, or nobody going to tell you, but from the profile that I found, like there's like one common thing is the test score. Okay, this is something I found out. The other things I found out, like because EDEA, most likely they have the understanding like they're going to have a better chance, or they holding too optimism the perspective about the accepted rate. So that's why they usually chose the school like 10 times or 5 times higher. For example, the students may want to, but basically may fake the UC, maybe the UCLA or UC not Riverside, but UC Irvine or UC Santa Cruz. But because they think they might want to try the luck, so they chose ED or EA with some like really top schools. So that may also got like a reject. This is something like I realize that many students, they feel like, oh, I'm fine, I just want to try my luck, and end up like I didn't get it. So the lesson learned, or the suggestion that for future students is like, I really really want you guys to think about the chances, and do not really just throw in an application just because you want to bet on the luck, because the lucky thing, it happens, right? But it just like really really less chance. And because you still have to spend a lot of effort on your essay, on the preparation, so you don't really want to just to throw all the effort to be decided by the luck. So that's why I just feel like if you can evaluate a school and your profile and everything like total together, to be something like getting into the school like a little bit jump, not like too high, right? Not to the moon, not to Mars, right? But just a little bit higher. You might get yourself like actually in an easier situation right now, because you may get accepted. Yeah, I do have the situation. My students want to apply for the Boston College. Well, actually, Boston College, after we evaluate, we feel like that's a really good fit for this student. But however, in the last minute, she changed the major from the major that we believe that she got a better chance to get in, to computer science. So this is kind of like a suicide action, right? So he got rejected, and I'm not surprised about that, because the last minute changing major because you think that's like a better chance. This is not something wise. So I have to really remind everybody, for next year's application, we really have to really carefully evaluate the situation and also the school, and think about it. Just don't really bet on the luck. Okay, so this is the first question, right? And sorry,
Yeah.
I think I answered this question too long, but maybe I covered several of the other questions.
Yeah, that was perfect. No, thank you. Let's actually like break down individually now the three different scenarios that you can have like after applying or early, right? So one is like if you got accepted, two is like if you were deferred, and then three is if you were just flat out rejected. So let's just start with if you were accepted first, right? So what are the next steps for someone if they were accepted somewhere early? Do they have to withdraw their other applications? But what happens if they applied ED but they actually now want to go somewhere else, right? Like is there a scenario where they don't have to withdraw their applications?
Well, I think it's quite clear on this part, right? So I just put it into this chart. If you already accepted by ED, this is like really like a blunt binding. So you really want to go. You don't have chance to do that. But if it's like EA, and you still have chance to reject the offer and go to somewhere else, go to the regular decision application. But which is like I mean, I have been working on the counselor part for 17 years. I never see any students just got offer and then rejected and go to the regular, try to pursue more like uncertainty. So I consider this to be a rare case. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I've heard of some students actually who they just want to see like where else they got into. They know that they're going to commit to the ED school, but they just want to know. Would you recommend that?
Well, I would say if you're really strong, yes. Yeah, I do have students, got a 3 offers from Yale, MIT, and Harvard, and try to play around and to decide which school to go. I would say that's a sweet problem to think about, but for most of the students, I don't think that's the case. Yeah. So, especially right now, everybody's kind of like, in a situation, kind of like a lot of like stress, a lot of like worriness, a lot of uncertainty. Do have students ask me in the middle of night saying like, oh, I just remembered in the essay, I mentioned something and that belongs to master degree, not undergrad. Do I need to email the school to change it? And I was like, oh no, that situation is not like something you all of a sudden want to think about it and want to change it. So that's why I would say, yeah, so just to relax and go to the regular decision, because right now, all you can do is put all the effort for the last 2 weeks I mean, more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks actually, right? For your regular decision. Because I told many of the students right now, they just go through the final session. And after the final, they have like 2 more weeks to work on their essay, which is the perfect time. Well, just ignore the part like you can't really enjoy the Christmas this year, right? But anyway, you can't go anywhere. So put more effort on the essay. Try to read it and try to ask the different people to read it. And try to think about a different way. I want to give one example here. So actually, one of the example is like what kind of skill you want to develop in your college. And I got a different answers from my students. Some students says like, oh, I want to improve my time management skill. So then I ask my students, does that mean like you are telling the school that you are very bad in a time management or not good enough in a time management? So this is not something you want to answer, right? Then like, oh, so can I change something else? I was like, okay, sure. And then change to communication skill. I was like, oh, so that means you're showing your school that you're not good at communication. So I'm going to concern about your social ability, right? So those kind of answer, those kind of question, you think it's not a essay. It's just like a question, right? You just feel the question, but actually it's representing you, right? It's like showing different little part of you. So that's why I really want students to pay attention. It's not about filling the form. It's all about every single little credit, put them together. You're gonna pass it, you're gonna pass like in a very high score, or you're gonna just like barely meet it. That's the difference come from. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. So I guess that transitions us pretty well into the next category of students. So what if you were deferred, right? So first of all, can you talk about what that means? And then also a common question that I've heard from students is like, does that mean that I have a better chance of getting in during the regular round if I got deferred?
Well, I do see the student got accepted after the defer. Yeah. So I had a student got deferred in the ED part, but got accepted in the regular decision process. So, but the thing is like that percentage is still low. Okay. So in this situation, I would say you can't do anything because for EDEA, there's no like any way for you to submit the materials. It's not like regular decision part. So the only thing you have to do is wait and to see like what gonna happen in the regular decision part. So just never lose the hope, because there are many cases like student got deferred in the first round and still got accepted in second round. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So you mentioned that there's like no way to fight the deferral. Like, is it possible to like send a letter or something with like any updates about your grades or anything like that?
I don't think so for now, and I don't suggest it for now. Yeah. So you really have to look at the information on the school part. Some school they state clearly saying do not send anything. And you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to send anything if they clearly state that. And I know many school they do that. So you really want to check. And also it's too early to do that. So you still want to wait a little bit, because what usually happen is like students want to I mean, it's just like a win or lose kind of like a thinking. Even I don't want to go to the school, but I wanted the offer. And after offer, maybe I would think about it and maybe I would say no, but I still want the offer. If that's the case, you probably want to rethink about it. Yeah.
Got it, got it. And now, so moving on to like the third category of students, right, which is probably the majority of students, is what happens when I have been rejected? Does that indicate that I should change the rest of my applications all in this last like 2 weeks?
Well, the thing is, many students, when they do the application, when they started, they already have their ED school, they have a regular decision. I think what the question try to ask here is like, if I got rejected in the ED or EA, right? Can I still apply to the same school for regular decision? Because many people think, oh, I got rejected in the EDEM, but if I apply for the regular decision, I may get a second chance. But usually, well, you can still apply the same school. But usually, I suggest like do not do that, because that means like for the first round of competition, you already know maybe you're not like competitive enough, right? So that will already show you some kind of like facts. So you really want to switch to some other school for the regular decision. You don't want to, consistently pursue the same one. That's my suggestion. Yeah, of course, for the rest of the school, you have to move forward, but you don't want to really change in the last minute, because well, I personally, I hate last minute change, no matter major, essay, schools, because when you change school, that means you have to change questions, you have to change essay, you have to change many small stuff, right? So that's why I just don't really do the last minute change. I think most students, I suggest, I mean, with me, when they apply college together, we already finalized the school when they start the essay. So I think for now, maybe minor changes, maybe add on a little bit school, but just don't add on too much, because I do have students apply more than 20 schools. And I do see her as like stressing out, burning out, right? Because think about the time you spend on every school application and every essay is going to be less if you're applying too many, and eventually you still have to make a decision between several, right? So, and this is something we really want you to, limit the number of the school. Maybe it's like no more than 10. My suggestion is no more than 10. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. And do you think it's too late right now to have the rest of your essays? So if you're rejected, is it too late to have the rest of the essays reviewed by any sort of like professional, like 70 for instance, before the regular application deadlines?
Oh, no, of course not. I think you have enough time, because they still have like 3 weeks, like I mentioned. But usually, I would say review is kind of like, how to say, the best essay was not because of editing. The best essay is because we spend a lot of time finding the stories. Stories are more important than the language itself. And I do see many parents, they say, oh, can I just, ask you to review it and change the words, make it to be better, sounds like more fancy, but that's not the case. Sometimes I prefer students to keep the mistakes, or like a simple language, or like even some like a carol language, I would say, because if the writing style is pretty carol, I won't change to be something like, oh, when I see it, I was like, oh, this essay was edited by several people, because here is from someone else, here from someone else. It looked like many people say a little bit things into one essay. That's not something you want to show, right? You want to show this is your original work. I do know like many parents, they concern about it finding help, because they just worry about like, the essay doesn't look like their original work. Well, the thing is, like, if you find like an expert help, they will make sure the essay will sounds exactly like your original work, and plus better, because the story and how you tell the story, the structure of the story, and where you need to know more. So that's experienced expert, like our teacher, like our counselor Clint, and he's so good in finding the weak point of the essay. But if you just give someone, they just basically adding on it, just to revise it, or like rewrite some part, that may probably you want to concern. Or you just totally rewrite it. Maybe that always sounds like the same tone. Well, it just really depends on the situation. And every year, I experienced the students who need help. Basically, we need to hand holding, write like sentence by sentence. What do you think about that? And by saying that, what do you mean? By meaning that, what do you want to say? So those kind of leading that cost a lot of time, a lot of effort, and some students couldn't develop anything. Some students, they just like, they have many stories, and end up like we have to really, vote. So I have 3 stories. Which one you think is the best? It just like the difference is so different. Yeah, the situation is so different and so complicated. Sometimes I just kind of feel like, like 1 hour ago, I'm meeting with the student, just like talking different version of story, and they are all amazing. I'm trying to decide the best one for them. And the next minute, I'm facing a student who's literally can write nothing, and I have to try to dig out something from the students. I feel like kind of like really really extremes, I would say. Yeah.
Got it. Could you talk a little bit about, like, in your personal experience, like, with 70DU, like, how what does 70DU do that kind of differs from, like, any other, like, professional, like, essay reviewers and stuff like that, and, like, what we can offer, students right now?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So I want to talk a little bit more about the rate. So actually, this is the one of the question that parents ask me regarding like is it become harder? Is it become harder and harder? And some parents even tell me they want to move out of California because they feel like competition is too severe here, and then they feel like maybe they move in the middle of nowhere, or like somewhere like in the middle of the America, or somewhere with like a low income, the thing will get better. And based on all the like different news regarding the changes policy, and I know many parents, they care a lot about the policy changes. And the Prop 16, they got rejected, but however, the UC Berkeley still announced like they're going to continue supporting that policy. Those kind of concern, I know many parents, they're worried about it, and the students same. So what I want to say is, well, it's not getting harder and harder because the bar is getting lower and lower, but the competition is not getting less and less. Yeah. So in that situation, I would say many of the great schools, I would say private school or great schools, they still choose the most competitive students, or they still choose students who have potential. So instead of like, putting too much stress and worriness to yourself and your kids, I think maybe you can switch to some schools like they're not really, like public school, or they're not California school, or maybe they have like different kind of way. These days, I kind of have like different conversation with parents, talk about a possibility to go to London, Canada, like Oxford is great school, Cambridge is great school. So we started trying to encourage students to apply more great schools, and of course include the schools all over the America. So this is something like I want to open my discussion with many of the parents. So if you want to talk with me, welcome to schedule a quick call with me. So I would like to give you my suggestion, and I would like to discuss about the possibility for the students. I think that's great chance for our kids to get into the better chance and to grow themselves to be the better version. Yeah. So regarding the Anna's question, and I think I want to talk a little more about like why 7EDU is different. So this is something that I'm really proud of because everybody know us because of we train students full score for SAT, ACT. So a lot of parents say like, oh, you guys can train people with super high score, and what about a college application? So the concept for 7EDU is quite different from other places, because I know the counselors will tell you, hey, you need to get this down, prepare GPA, prepare SAT, get this score. Okay, go. So you go to take care by yourself, or parents have to look for everywhere to find helpers for the kids. But we do it different way. Yeah. So we are setting up the goal together with the parents and the kids together. So let's say your goal is to get into the top 30 or top 10 schools, and for what kind of major. So we find out the interest, and we find out the career pattern for the students. At the same time, we let the student understand what you need if you want to go there. So if you need a GPA improvement, here we go. They are the teacher's team. And I'm going to sit them together, tell the teacher, what is the personality of the student? What is the study habit of student? What we need to be aware of the student? And we match the mentor to the student to walk through the whole process. And if we say, hey, so let's work on some competition, we help you to find a competition teacher. We help you join a competition. If they say, oh, let's find some internship, let's find some like research opportunity, we're helping you to find those and make the connection to those. So it's like a very like a full support and one-stop situation. And I discussed with some of the I would say friends working in the same industry. So they feel like, oh, you guys make this is too stressful. Because if it's a counselor, in order to guarantee your result, you need to give me your GPA, give me your standardized test, right? Give me competition, give me the award, you give me this and help you to get in there. But if you only take care of the academic part, you can say, hey, I take care of 1, 2, 3, 4, this test. You get a good score, here we go, you go somewhere else. But if you are just working on the two part at the same time, basically we set ourselves have no place to go back, right? So basically we're just kind of like, we have to go wrong. We have to really improve the GPA, because if we cannot improve the GPA, the score, we can't really meet our goal that we set by ourselves. So that's the situation for 7EDU to be very different. So our teachers team, counselor team, and the mentor team work together. I would say it's very heavy workload. That's why every year we limit the student number. Yeah. So this is something that I want to share, like why 7EDU is different. The other part that I want to let parents understand about how it works with us is like we actually working way earlier than the application. So starting from 6th grade, so we're starting the college application. Yeah, I'm not joking. You're hearing me right. 6th grade. And actually, to be honest, that's not my youngest students. My youngest student right now is 3rd grade. So you must feel like, hey, that's too like a tiger mom, right? That's too pushing. That's kind of like a too stressed out. I don't want my kids to be like that. I'm just let the kids, be happy. And then I'm gonna wait until high school. Well, the thing is that the real stress comes when the high school starts. If you really don't want your kids to be stressed out, you have to really make sure like to extend it as early as possible. I'm not saying to ask the kids prepare for SAT as early as possible. I'm saying ask them to be ready as early as possible. When I'm talking about ready, I'm talking about reading and writing ready. Basically, the kids need to have a strong reading skill and a strong writing skill. So many of the students that I take care of before, like after 2, 3 years, and for the call application session, well, they follow the plan. In the end, they don't need too much editing. So as long as we have the essays story ready, and then the essays going like flow, it's just like a really like a using the language freely. So, and the other thing is like many of students when they start counseling with us or with somewhere else, they start trying to figure out what they like. Even my students, they start like 10th grade, 9th grade, or even 11th grade. They still don't know what they want to do. Well, I never want to limit the imagination or the possibility of the students to do something, right? But the thing is like the whole life is about find out what you want, right? But the thing is like many of the adult, like, if you ask a mom or a dad, like, what do you want? So maybe they cannot really answer the question, because that's a really hard question to answer. For all the life we try to figure out who we are, what we want. How possible you ask the kids to find out what they want and who they are? Well, that's the magic. The early you find out where your interest is or where you want to go, the better you can prepare yourself. And some of the kids, they have a motivation. They're so motivated. Like today I had a meeting with one of my students. I've just like so enjoyed the meeting with him because he's so self-motivated and he's so like productive. I just like every time meeting him is like a boom, 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 everything done, and then he always bring me more questions. It just like enjoy the meeting with him. And I'm pretty sure he will get into a very top school no matter what. The school gonna be lucky to have him. So on the other hand, come back to what I talk about. So because the early he find out the interest, they find out the passion, the easier it can introduce more resources to the kids. So I know like many of the parents, they try to introduce many kind of like courses, opportunities, different kind of, activities to the kids, but end up like, they still don't know where they want to go, but it's okay as long as you can let them to explore more. So I feel like narrowing down to the certain direction is way easier for counselor than adding on something. So that's why I really encourage parents to start the counseling actually the early the better. So I'm trying right now, I'm doing one of the experiment with one of my students. So I start counseling with him starting from 3rd grade. So I'm going to lead him into 9th grade. So after 9th grade, I'm going to decide to let him to lead himself. So I'm not going to, like the plan or everything. So I'm gonna introduce him and help him to develop the plan for himself. So this is the first time I try this. And I believe this will have the better result because I can tell like he's very clear, has a very clear vision about what he wants. And this is something I feel like every parent want, right? Because we want our kids not like walking by our hand, right? By our support. We want them to work by themselves. By giving them support, and then we want them to develop their own skill and be independent eventually. So that's, I think that's one of the things that I'm quite a different. Yeah. So if you want to talk a little bit more, I can just share some experiences regarding like a constant planning, because I do feel like many parents ask me about summer camp, summer plan, about researchers, like what I listed all on the screen. I feel like it's become a formula, right? So I put whatever on the screen. So but the thing is like I mean, this is a very interesting question. Why everybody knows this and why the kids are different? This is a question actually I want to ask parents. Why? Oh, you may say because my kids are lazy, or personality is different, or I don't have time to sit together with them, or environment, or good school, or maybe not really good teacher. There's so many reasons. But I always want to encourage parents to think about, even I tell you all the plan, but the carry out rate or the action or the result will be quite different based on the same students, or based on the same plan, two different students, or even the same personality, I would say. So it kind of like, this is a very interesting question. I would like to continue my discussion with many of you guys, because I do have like several students, they have the same interest going to CS direction, having the very competitive, like a academic background, and they are just very active on their different kind of school club, activities. Outside school, they do nonprofit organization, and then they join like AMC, Olympia competition, robotic teams. They're same. So when you look at the profile, they're same. But why two of them get into the very top school, MIT, two of them get into UC Berkeley, and the two of them just, not really good result according to the parents, satisfaction. Yeah. So what's the difference between those cases? This is something like these days really interests me a lot. I'm trying to study the core reason behind those cases. And I'm trying to find out like what is the reason some kids can just really dig out their potential like freely. Some kids just stuck there, and no matter what, you have to push them, you have to really, try so many different to motivate them, but they just can't find the meaning of life. So that's something I would like to maybe have another time to talk with everybody about that. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit off the track. Sorry about that. The other thing I want to introduce is our counseling program. What they include here. We include a planning part. That's what I talk about in the early stage. Include the interest, the passion, direction. That's the heaviest section ever. Yeah. If I spend a lot of time on this part, and if the students support, or if the parents support, so it will be way easier and faster for the later section. What usually happen is like, the kids really support, but may not align with parents, or parents and constant align together, but kids may not really get on board. So there's so many different reasons and factors. So we probably want to just analyze case by case. But overall, I want most of the parents to spend more time on the planning part, because that's the most important. That's the foundation. As long as you solve that part, boom, you kind of like trigger the potential of the kids. They're gonna on fire. They're gonna be on fire. They're gonna burn. They're gonna just like like rocket ship. So the second part is academic advice. The academic advice, I would say there's like some misunderstanding. A lot of people feel like, oh, we are not good at math, so we need a math, or we are not good at English, so we need to help English. Well, I kind of like holding a different opinion. Well, you're not good. Definitely you have to improve the good part. But what about the part that you are good at? So actually, I suggest two ways to start at the same time. Your weak point, of course, you have to make sure the weak point is not like too weak. But you want to spend more time and effort on your strong point, because you don't want to make sure the kid's going to be like well-rounded, right? It's like a ball, right? You want them to have the niche. You want them to have the special part. That's the uniqueness that you want to discover and to try to stretch out. So the third part is the college application part that I mentioned, like include the summer plan, summer activity. Personally, I enjoy more about the personalized or customized plan with students. So look at the student's profile. Actually, every student have a different profile, and their activities are just so different because I really feel like, some of the summer camp, basically you pay for it, it doesn't really help that much. But if you want to experience some pre-college life, welcome to do so. But most important thing is like how to discover the uniqueness. So as a counselor, I don't really give suggestion only, I give them an action plan as well. For example, I usually brainstorm with my students about the art piece that they're going to create. I'm not an artist, and I know, maybe I know nothing about the art, but what I know is the art piece, they show not only the art skill, but also the personality. For the personality, you want to use the art to show what are you thinking, right? Everybody draw an apple. Everybody draw some like a cat or like some like a statue, But where comes your personality? Besides that, what else you can offer? So I'm very passionate about developing or dig out some, uniqueness from the students. So last but not least is the college application part. So we have a full support during the whole process. We have admin support, we have asset specialist support, we have a mentor support and a counseling support. So basically we have a 6 people working on like one students all together. So like take turns to remind them deadline to chase them. This is like kind of like my students joking with me, say like, hey, you guys working style is really like my mom, like keep chasing me. I was like, wait, that's part of the job we have to do, is like we have to do the mom's job, right? Okay. All right. So the other part I want to introduce is like the counselor team. So me working as a main counselor, helping students, and my co-founder, Dr. Yen, working on the STEM students. And we have Clint, we have Amy, we have a Dr. Neiman, we have a Professor Lu. They all work on together to help the students during the process. Yeah, so basically that's I think I've talked a lot about how we're different, but that's just the beginning. Yeah. Okay. So any question? Where's Anna? Are you
That
there?
was perfect, Jean. Yes, that was perfect. I feel like I learned so much from that. And of course, like to the audience, this is your time to ask any questions that you have for June about ED or about college counseling or college applications in general. I'm gonna just let you guys go ahead and please type in the chat or type in the Q&A box if you have any questions. Excuse me. But in the meantime, while we wait for any questions that the audience has, one question that I had, June, was about early decision 2. So the type of early decision where you can apply in the spring semester. Do you have any experience with that? Do you have any recommendations about that?
Sorry, it's cut a little bit. What is your question about early decision?
Oh, sorry. A question about early decision 2. So the round 2, when you can apply early in January, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, you can. There's like a many EDA, ED1 and ED2. Yeah, so they have a different different timeline. So I would say still you have to really think about the current case. It's like you got to defer, you got to reject it, and then you can just think about what is the next part. Yeah. So for students who got rejected, so actually I feel like I want to give suggestion, but I don't want to really give the general one to kind of like maybe misleading or maybe not the situation. So I encourage everybody to, make a phone call or write me email. And for your special case, maybe I can give you specific Q&A if that helps. So if the general questions, I mean, if you can send us email, we can give you detailed information. Yeah.
Got it. So for I know every single person on this call is going to get 30 minutes of a consultation, I believe, if they choose to, with you guys. So could you talk a little bit more about like what each student or parent will get when they have that 30-minute meeting with you?
Well, I wish I could really cut the 30 minutes like on time, this is something I wish. So, well, I think you can get more than you can imagine. So I think most likely I want to give the students and the parents a different perspective about the college planning and application. Yeah, so this is something I value more because I don't want to give things like you basically can Google it or can search it or you can get it anywhere. I want to give something like, based on the students. For the past 17 years, I do feel like I have a talent. I can find out the students' potential or their personality or the way that where they can just kind of like a kick off. So this is something I'm trying. Well, not like 100% time works, but most of the time works. So I want to give that insight to parents. So ideally, we can help the kids to grow to be the next stage. And even if maybe it's not me, maybe it's me, but I want to put the kids into the good hands to make sure they can get to in their dream school. Most important to get their goal and get their direction. That's way important than the school itself. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So for every single student or parent on this call, we'll be sending you guys an email after this event with information about how to set up that meeting with June or with one of our other counselors. So I'm not seeing any questions come in through the chat or the Q&A box. We are already over time anyways. So June, if you have any other things that you want to share with us, please do so. But otherwise, no more questions from the audience.
Okay, yeah, just join us on Among Us Christmas special events, and we do want to, make some fun, let the kids enjoy the holiday in a different way. Yeah, just stay positive. I know the virus, I know everything, and I know some of you already stuck at home for the online school many months, and it just kind of like endless, right? Just ask yourself some question, like what if it's gonna be forever like this? Are you ready for the change of the era? Or, is there any way for you to fund like some fun, even you're away from school? I hope parents can, join the events as well to play Among Us together with the kids. That would be very cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I sent the link and the information in the chat right now for everyone to sign up. And then that's it for us then. Thank you so much, June, for coming to this awesome event today. I learned so much and I hope everyone else did too. Thank you all so much for attending and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, Anna. Thank you, everyone, for attending. See you next time. Bye.